But as we also used to say, if you don't like fiddle and accordion music, you still have a chance to get out the door. Because that's what you're going to hear tonight. Yeah, a couple of polkas. 3 og 4. Thank you. That was some tunes from the island of Læsø, northeast.
Yeah, you probably all have the map of Denmark pretty clear in your head. You can see, so up there, northeastern corner, there's the tip of the northern tip of Denmark is called Vendsyssel, and Skagen is the furthest north where the two oceans meet, and you can actually see the waves meet each other up there. It's a tourist attraction that a lot of people enjoy. There's seals up there and everything. And, yeah, you just take the ferry boat 1.5 hours towards the east, and that's where Læsø is, where we got these polkas from. But now we're going to travel down the west coast all the way down to another island called Fanø. We have lots of islands in Denmark, and some of them have some wonderful music. A lot of them have. And Fanø is maybe the most famous one for the music. And it's also where Sonnich has his family roots, and where he's living today with his big family.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah. Not so nice.
No, they have on that island they have especially on the southern village of Sønderho. They have a over 300-year-old music and dance, and even a party tradition goes back 300 years, as I said. They mainly have one dance there for the whole night. So they have many tunes for this dance. They said there's about 100 different tunes played for this dance, so you don't have to repeat yourself during the night. And there's even new tunes written in the old tradition, in the old style, and that's what you're going to hear now. I composed these two tunes. First one I composed about 20 years ago for my dad. He was from that island, and he loved this kind of music. And the second tune is a pretty new one for some lovely neighbors and very good dancers, Krej and Line. So here we go. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We're going to go back and play some of our oldest tunes dating back to the 1700s. I can mention maybe that the sources to this music that we play, there's three main sources. Number one is, of course, when we can meet another living musician and we can sit face to face and learn the tunes and pick up the little details, what they do in between, the things that you cannot really write down in the sheet music. You can get a lot more little like dialect things in there. So that's number one source. The second source is old recordings, field recordings. The oldest ones in Denmark are dating back to 1909, when a fiddler from the northern part of Denmark, the Vendsyssel region, was recorded on a wax cylinder. Thomas Johansen was his name, and he was a great player. You can hear that even through all the scratching of the wax cylinder and so on. The third source, of course, is old manuscript books that have survived up until today. The oldest ones are dating back to the 1700s, so fiddlers or other musicians have been writing down their repertoire. And luckily some of these books have survived and can now be found in the folk archive in Copenhagen. And that's where these next two tunes can be found. There's the first tune is from the oldest tune book that we know, after a musician called Rasmus Storm. His tune book is dated 1760. So that's some super old, super hits. So I'll do two of those old ones for you. And this is in a waltz time. So if you feel like waltzing, now's the chance. You take those off?
Thank you so much. Er der nogen, der forstår dansk her? Ja, jamen. Because I want to sing you a song in Danish so you can hear this wonderful language, which is too seldom heard, I think, nowadays around the world. It's an old folk song dating at least 200 years, maybe more, back. It mainly consists of a lot of nonsense words that doesn't really mean anything. It just sounds funny, especially if you know Danish. But it has a brief little story anyway, and it's about this farmer and his only goose, which unfortunately has been taken by a fox. And unfortunately for the fox, the farmer catched it. This version of the song doesn't tell how it happened, but it did happen. And the fox knows, probably the last hour in my life. I better do something about it. And he says to the farmer, when you have killed me, could you please give my ears to the forester? Because he needs a good ear to listen what goes on in the woods. And my eyes, could you give them to the hunter? He needs a good eye to shoot. And my beautiful tail, could you give it to the guy that makes hats and coats and things like that? And oh, by the way, my forelegs, could you give them to the fox? And then he ran away, out in the woods, was never seen again. And the farmer is still standing there, I believe. What happened? That's the song. There's a little chorus, which if you can pick it up, it'll be nice. It sounds like this. For de hit, for de her, for de rev, for de rumpens slap, for de bundens firklige virumstær, for de bræk, for de bundens datter, og den lille bitte kind lokker reven fra busken og ind. Got it?
That's why we all join in. You join in with me there.
I must admit it took me about a year to learn it.
Good one. And some of those sounds in this refrain, as it is in a lot of these old folk songs, it sounds a bit like some kind of imitation of Latin. And it's typical for these songs that the people who made them up or sang them, they wanted to make fun of the rich people who spoke Latin back, if you go long enough back. So that's why you find some of these kind of fake Latin words in these refrains.
Det er jo så ikke så meget. Okay. 3, 4. Bunden havde en enlig gås, fældeligt sagde ræven, og den lukkede han hver aften i lås. For de hit, for de her, for de rev, for de rumpens slap, for de bunden firklige virumstær, for de bræk, for de bundens datter, den lille bitte kend lukker ræven fra busken og ind. Og skovfoden, ham giver jeg mit øre, fældeligt sagde ræven, for han skal altid lytte og høre. For de hit, for de her, for de rev, for de rumpens slap, for de bundens firklige virumstær, for de bræk, for de bundens datter, den lille bitte kend lukker ræven fra busken og ind. Og skøtten, ham giver jeg mit øje, fældeligt sagde ræven, for han skal altid sigte så nøje. For de hit, for de her, for de rev, for de rumpens slap, for de bundens virkelige virumstær, for de bræk, for de bundens datter, den lille bitte kind lukker ræven fra busken og ind. Og bundmageren, ham giver jeg min hal, fældeligt sagde ræven, for han skal altid sy kasketter, der kan prale. For de hit, for de her, for de rev, for de rumpens slap, for de bundens virkelige virumstær, for de bræk, for de bundens datter, den lille bitte kind lukker ræven fra busken og ind. og reven giver mine 4 ben. Lidt sagde reven, så smuttede Mikkel af skoven ind. For de hit, for de her, for de rev, for de rumpens slap, for de bundens virkelige virumstær, for de bræk, for de bundens datter. Den lille bitte kind lokker reven fra busken og ind. Ja. Thank you so much.
Okay, we're going to go back actually, or kind of staying in a way in the really old material and play you an old minuet and an old dance tune called Murky. We don't really know what Murky means, but there's quite a few tunes with that title in these old tune books. So it must have been a hit back in the days. Just wait till you hear it, you'll understand. But first a slow minuet and then we speed it a little bit up with that Murky. And
yeah, you could say that you can hear in these two tunes that it's influenced by classical music in a way. We all know that the great composers, they were inspired by folk music. But the other way around was also, it's evident in these two tunes here.
yeah.
So, yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We're going to continue with some tunes that we picked up down in around Ottawa, here in Iowa. We have a really good friend there called Dwight Lamb. And maybe when you hear that name, you might not think it has much to do with Denmark, but it does, because Dwight's grandfather came over from Denmark, and that was back in 1893. It was, of course, the time when a lot of people came over, so he brought along his family, but also he brought along both an accordion and a fiddle, because he'd grown up playing the local music in Vendsyssel, again that northern region in the top of Denmark. And in fact, Dwight's grandfather's dad was a famous fiddler up there called Kristian. And he's the one, if you study folk music in Denmark, you'll certainly hear about him within those studies, which I did back in prehistoric times. But yeah, so Dwight's grandfather came over here, and he had these great old tunes with him. And luckily, he kept playing them his whole life. And I really mean that was lucky, because in all the years that passed since 1893, most of these tunes were forgotten back in Denmark. So only thanks to Dwight and his grandfather, we can still play these tunes today. I was lucky enough to meet Dwight on my very first trip to America in 2008, when I was playing at the Vesterheim up in Minnesota, northern Minnesota, the Scandinavian festival there. And Dwight was also there, and we pretty quickly became very good friends, and that was my main reason to keep coming back to the USA and visit Dwight and pick up as many of these old tunes as possible. And we also had Dwight come to Denmark and tour with us and spread the music out there again. And so we've been doing a lot about that. And in fact, last Saturday we were in Canton, South Dakota, and there was a movie premiere there, where I think it has been shown once before or something like that, but it's shown twice that day, last Saturday, and it's about Dwight's trips to Denmark and the whole story about his grandfather's music and everything. It's called Dwight in Denmark. So if you come across that, it's worth checking it out, I would say. So yeah, we also have a tune book where we wrote down all Dwight's old Danish tunes, so we're doing all we can to make sure they won't be lost again, or almost lost. So, and now, of course, we want to play a couple of them for you. So a little chord drill and a little polka.
you for that. We'll continue with two more party tunes. This time two tunes for two very popular dances all over Denmark. A to-tur and a fir-tur, and that's mainly what it is. Mm-hmm. Thank you so much.
Ja, det er nemlig rigtigt. All right. It's my turn to sing a song. And again, it's an old folk song, kind of an old fairy tale song almost about Per, this young man who was working at the swine stable at the royal castle. And he was very sad one day, or in general, I guess, because he had fallen in love with the princess. And that's not ideal if you're working with the pigs, you know. So he went to bed pretty sadly, and but luckily the princess had also noticed him. So she actually snuck into his room. And then Per, the swineherd, said, it's no good you're here. You know, you'll have to leave, or I must go and complain to the king tomorrow. But she still decides to stay. So next morning, up to the king he goes, and he says, see, I have to complain. I need peace and quiet in my bedroom. I can't have your daughter running around there. It's no good. And then the king says, okay, well, that sounds strange. He calls in his daughter and says, what's that I'm hearing? She said, oh yeah, I must admit I went to his room. I really like his company. And, that's a problem, the king said. And he calls in the swineherd again, but then he has some surprising news. He says, yeah, you know, I might look dirty in this clothes here working with the pigs and everything, but as actually, I'm the king. No, I'm not the king. I'm the son of the king of England, the prince from England. Okay. So that kind of changes the picture a little bit. And the king says, wow, that's great news. You know, if that's true, then we have to celebrate. And I'll give you my blessings, the two of you, and let's have a party. So he threw a great party, and they lived happy ever after. So it's kind of a fairy tale like that. And actually, you might have read some of Hans Christian Andersen's fairy tales, and we've been talking about it's almost like he was a bit inspired by this song and his fairy tale about the swineherd. It's not exactly the same, but there's some similarities, so who knows?
I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah. Just like the classical composers were inspired by the folk music, maybe the classical writers are inspired by the folk stories. Well, anyway, it's a nice little song, and it actually has only one line of verse in each verse, and then the rest is refrain. So a lot of refrain, and it's an easy refrain where you don't need to speak Danish to join in. So we'd be happy to invite you along on that refrain. It comes a lot of times, so I think you'll probably pick it up. And when you join in, focus on the volume, not so much the beauty of the singing, just the volume. Okay, let's give it a try.
Kristian Bugge, mine damer og herrer. We'd go back to this wonderful island of Fanø where I live. Skævepolka, sorry about that. Okay. It's written with a very...
Yeah. Unclear handwriting from someone in this band, yes. Well, first we have it's poker time again, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, we need to play some more pokers for you. We have to get rid of all these pokers we have in our sleeves here. So there's two little party pokers.
Yeah.
Coming up.
And if we get through these two pokers, we might go in to a Danish speciality, which Hopsa tunes, which is the fastest music we can play.
Let's see how it goes.
Yeah, let's see. Skal vi køre den, eller? Ja, hopsagerne.
Skal vi da så?
Thank you so much. As I said a little earlier, because I couldn't read the list there, we'll go back to this little island of Fana and play a few more tunes from there. That was the little island, 300-year-old music and all that. I can say they were all sailors there during the tall ships period in the 1800s, and they sailed the whole world. They were even in America, even on the west coast, round the Horn and up.
Quite the trip.
Yeah, quite a trip on the Far East. And some people believe that many of these tunes were brought by the sailors, heard from different places in the world and brought home and kind of fitted into the local dance tradition. I don't know if that's... I don't know, but anyway, we'll play 3 tunes, and they are all about women. Well, the titles are about women. The themes, yeah. The first one is called Skal vi gå til fremmede lande for en liden tøs at få. and that means, do we have to travel to foreign countries to find a little girlfriend? And then it might have been drawn from an old song, because there's another line saying, over sø og salten vande, til Amerika at go. And that means over sea and salty waters, to go to America. And the last of these tunes are called The Widow's Dance. And being a widow in those days on Fanø Island was not uncommon. I mean, there were many of them, because this job was very dangerous, sailing these ships, and you never knew if you would return again, and many didn't. They found their grave on the bottom of the sea. Well, let's not get too sad. Let's play these three beautiful tunes here. Thank you so much. Hvad står der så?
Bremsen fluen.
Okay, go and sing you another song now. Again, an old folk song, and this one dates back, I'm sure, at least 400 or 500 years around the Reformation. And it's a love story with a horsefly and a housefly. This horsefly is madly in love with the housefly, and he decides to write to her farm to tell her his mind. And so he did, and when he arrives, she's already standing there with his her hermelin coat on and looking absolutely gorgeous. And hey, housefly, why shouldn't we cook something up together? And she said, what do you mean? Yeah, we should get married. I'm so in love with you. And she starts laughing at him. And she, you must be mad. This can never happen. Because I'm rich and you are poor. And like in the human world, you must stick to your own folks. And she says to him, when I'm sitting on the king's plate, you're in the ass of a horse. And when he hears that, he gets pretty angry, and he grabs her by the wing and slams her to the ground, which is not very nice, but they are nasty creatures, those horseflies, we all know. And suddenly, strangely enough, my experience is that you have to be very nice to girls to get them into something. But she changed her mind and says, okay, then when are we going to get married? And he says, okay, in harvest time, that's when there are most insects. And we're going to invite them all to our wedding. And so they did. Wonderful party. The fleas were playing music and the mosquitoes were dancing and everybody was happy. And they lived happy ever after, like in the old song. That's... and this song, you can really hear these fake Latin words that is made to make fun of the rich people. And in the end, you will hear a little dance tune, and you can imagine this is the wedding dance. So here we go. Og bremsen tog støvler og spor på, kom fik, kom far, kom patria. Så red han sig til fluens gård, kom paja pisag til retatria. Og da han kom til fluens gård, kom fik, kom far, kom patria. Stod fluen ude svøbt i mor, kom paja pisag til retatria. Og hørte du flue både fær og fin, kom fik, kom far, kom patria. Og vil du være eller kæresten min, kom paja pisag til retatria. Hvor kan jeg blive eller kæresten din, kom fik, kom far, kom patria. For du er fattig og jeg er rig, kom far, jeg bisag til retatria. Når jeg sidder på kongens fad, kom fik, kom far, kom patria. Så sidder du i hestens røv, kom far, jeg bisag til retatria. Bremsen tog fluen ved vingeben, kom fik, kom far, kom patria. Smid hende ned i randesten, kom bare jeg besag til retatria. Op stod fluen med snøfter med gråd, kom fik, kom far, kom patria. Når skal dem vort bryllup stå, kom bare jeg besag til retatria. Marie dag som falder i høst, kom fik, kom far, kom patria. Til der bremser og fluer flest, kom bare jeg besag til retatria. Der blæser stort et brudehus, kom fik, kom far, kom patria. Der spillede en loppe, der dansede en lus, kom bare jeg besag til retatria. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot. It's time for probably our most romantic waltz. So if you want to waltz tonight, now is your chance. This is a one called Iskumringen. It means something like in the twilight zone. And I like to imagine, in Scandinavia or Denmark, the twilight zone came pretty late around midsummer. And maybe there has been an outdoor dance on a dance floor out there somewhere. In beautiful nature, you've been dancing all night, and finally you found your favorite dance partner, and finally the band is playing this waltz, and then it doesn't get much better. So that's what I kind of like to imagine when we play this one.
Lively imagination, we'll say. But let's try it anyway. Thank you. Okay.
Yeah, I'm afraid I got sad news. At least I'm a bit sad to announce that this has brought us up to our last piece. Yeah. But before we play that, I want to thank everybody who made this possible, including Martha, of course, Huge congratulations to all of you for this beautiful new space you've got. We're honored that we got to play the first concert in here. So if you want to hear this music again tomorrow, we can help you out because we got a lot of CDs with us. And you can play them a lot of times if you want. And they're right over here, as well as the Dwight Lamb tune book if you want to take a look at that. Of course, we'd be happy to help you with that. And thanks for coming out and supporting live music. I hope we will meet you again soon, somewhere out there. And this little last piece is 4 party tunes from Denmark, 2 little 6/8 pieces and 2 little kind of reels or 2/4 type of pieces. So thanks a lot for now. Thanks for having us.
Mange tak.